Welcome back, everybody, to the Metaphysics Podcast for another deep dive. Today, we're going to be exploring something pretty fascinating. I think it's the 9 levels of consciousness and how they kind of impact our experience of reality. It's easy to kind of go through life, just feeling like you're along for the ride. But what if there's a bigger picture that we're not really seeing? And that's kind of what we're going to unpack today. And all this information is based on the teachings of Daryl Anka channeling an entity called Bashar.
It's a really fascinating concept. We're not just talking about some abstract philosophy here, but like a framework that can really help us navigate our lives, with more awareness and purpose.
Absolutely. So let's start with like the foundation. Where do these 9 levels even begin?
Well, imagine, like a vast universal consciousness, something that's called the Oversoul. And this Oversoul is actually capable of splitting itself into like countless individual souls, each with a potential to experience physical reality.
Okay, so it's like a massive source of energy that's creating like smaller versions of itself to like explore different aspects of existence. Is that kind of what we're getting at?
Exactly. Now, when an individual soul wants to have a physical experience, it kind of splits itself further into what Bashar calls the higher mind and the physical mind. So think of it like this. You've got the big picture perspective, of the higher mind, which exists outside of, the constraints of linear time. And then you've got a physical mind, which is us right here, right now, experiencing the world, through our senses.
So it's like our higher mind is like our, cosmic GPS that's guiding us through life, while our physical mind is like the vehicle that's actually navigating the terrain.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. But here's where it gets really interesting. There's a realm between these two minds, like a kind of bridge, and it's called the template reality.
A bridge. Okay. I'm intrigued what happens on this bridge.
This is where the blueprints for like our physical experiences are created, and our higher mind actually sets up these templates, based on our soul's chosen path and the lessons that it wants to learn. It's not really about predetermined destiny, though, but rather a potential, that's just waiting to be unlocked.
So it's like a cosmic library of possibilities, and our experiences are shaped by which books we choose to open, kind of.
Exactly. And the way that we access those books, the way we tap into those templates is through our imagination. Bashar describes imagination as like the conduit between our higher mind and our physical mind.
So our thoughts and like daydreams, they're not just random noise. They're actually a form of communication from like our higher self.
Precisely. And that's where the structure of our physical mind comes into play. You've probably heard of the conscious, subconscious, and unconscious mind, right?
Yeah, I always pictured them like layers of an onion with the unconscious buried deep down at the center.
Well, according to Bashar, that common understanding is actually upside down. The unconscious mind is where our belief systems reside, is the highest level vibrationally. It's closer to the template reality and our higher mind.
Wait, so you mean like our beliefs are actually operating at a higher frequency than our conscious thoughts? That's kind of a game changer.
It is. It means that instead of like digging down to uncover limiting beliefs, we actually need to raise our vibration to connect with them. They're not buried in like darkness, they're vibrating at a higher level of awareness.
So it's not about psychoanalysis. It's about actually like elevating our consciousness. That's a powerful shift in perspective.
Absolutely. It changes how we approach personal growth and transformation. We're not really trying to fix something that's broken. We're actually aligning with a higher frequency.
Okay, this is all starting to click. But we're not done yet, are we? There's more levels to explore, right?
Right. Below the unconscious mind, where those core beliefs reside, we have the subconscious mind, which is the realm of emotions. And then the most surface level is the conscious mind, where our thoughts manifest.
So if our unconscious mind, where our beliefs live, is like the highest level of the physical mind, what's below the conscious mind?
Below the conscious mind, we have what Bashar calls the automatic mind. And this is where our unconscious patterns and habits reside, often stemming from limiting beliefs that we might not even be aware of.
So it's like the autopilot of our mind-running programs that we didn't consciously choose.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. It's why we might find ourselves repeating, the same patterns in relationships or career choices, even when we consciously desire, something different. Those deeper programs are running in the background.
This is fascinating. So where does the 9th level fit into all of this?
The ninth level, the lowest vibrationally, is what Bashar calls the collective unconscious. And this represents the shared agreements of our society, the things that we take for granted as part of physical reality, like the laws of physics or the concept of time.
So it's like the baseline reality we all operate within, even if we're not consciously aware of it.
Exactly. And understanding how all these levels relate to each other can help us see beyond those limitations and actually tap into our true potential.
This is mind-blowing. I feel like we've just, scratched the surface. There's so much to unpack here.
Stick with us, folks, because there's a lot more to dive into here.
Yeah, this is really getting good. I feel like we're just starting to, wrap our heads around all this.
It's amazing to think that these levels of consciousness are operating within us all the time, like shaping our perceptions and our experiences.
It really is. But knowing they exist is one thing. Actually working with them to create, positive change in our lives is another. Where do we even begin?
Well, remember how we talked about the unconscious mind, where our belief systems reside being the highest level vibrationally within the physical mind? That kind of changes everything.
Right. It's not about, digging down into some dark recess of our minds to unearth, limiting beliefs. It's about actually raising our vibration to align with them.
Exactly. And that's where the concept of following our highest joy kind of comes in when we engage in activities that, make us feel truly alive and excited. Our vibration naturally rises.
So it's not just about, positive thinking or affirmations. It's about actually taking action that aligns with our authentic selves.
Precisely. Because those joyful actions are a reflection of the beliefs that are held in our unconscious mind. Think about it this way. If you believe deep down that you're worthy of abundance, you'll naturally be drawn to activities and opportunities that reflect that belief.
So it's like our actions are sending a signal to the universe, confirming and reinforcing our beliefs.
Exactly. And the universe responds by presenting us with more experiences that align with those beliefs. It's like a feedback loop, a beautiful dance of co-creation.
I love that analogy. So it's not about forcing ourselves to do things that we think we should do, but about tuning into what genuinely lights us up.
Precisely. Now, here's the thing. Even when we're following our joy, those old patterns and habits in our automatic mind can still kind of trip us up. Remember, that's the level below the conscious mind where those unconscious programs are running.
Right. It's like we're trying to drive to a new destination, but our GPS is still set to the old route. How do we override those old programs?
Well, the key is to become aware of them without getting caught in the trap of analyzing them to death. Remember, the goal is to raise our vibration, not get stuck in the lower frequencies of overthinking and self-criticism.
So instead of dwelling on the why behind those patterns, we need to shift our focus to the what. What do we want to experience instead?
Exactly. And then align our actions with that new vision as we consistently choose actions that bring us joy and reflect our desired reality. Those old patterns naturally start to fade away. It's like creating a new neural pathway, a new program for our automatic mind to follow.
So it's not about fighting those old patterns, but about transcending them by creating new, more empowering ones.
Precisely. And that's where visualization can be such a powerful tool. Remember how we talked about imagination being the conduit between the higher mind and the physical mind? Well, when we visualize ourselves already living, our desired reality, we're essentially giving our higher mind a clear blueprint to work with.
And since our beliefs are at a higher vibrational level than our thoughts, that visualization helps to reinforce those new beliefs, which then filter down through the rest of our being.
Exactly. It's like planting a seed in fertile ground. The visualization provides the seed. Our belief system provides the fertile ground, and our consistent actions provide the water and the sunlight that's needed for it to grow.
This is incredibly empowering. It means that we have more agency than we realize in shaping our reality.
Absolutely, but it's important to remember that we're co-creating with the universe. We're not dictating the terms. There's a delicate balance between taking inspired action and surrendering to the flow of life.
So it's not about trying to control every outcome, but about aligning our energy with what we desire and trust the process.
Exactly, and that trust comes from understanding that our higher mind has a much broader perspective than our physical mind. It sees the bigger picture, the intricate web of interconnectedness that weaves together all of our experiences.
That's a beautiful way to put it. So how do we start tapping into that higher perspective more consistently?
Well, it's not about some, complex ritual or technique. It's about cultivating a deeper connection with our inner wisdom, that intuitive nudge that always guides us, towards our highest good.
So it's more about being present and aware in each moment, paying attention to those subtle signs and synchronicities that the universe is constantly sending our way.
Exactly. It's about becoming more attuned to the language of the universe, which often speaks to us through feelings, intuitions, and synchronicities rather than, loud booming pronouncements.
This is so fascinating. I feel like we're just beginning to uncover the vast potential that exists within each of us.
And that's the beauty of this journey of self-discovery. There's always more to explore, more to learn about how we can consciously create a reality that reflects our truest selves.
As we've been, exploring these 9 levels of consciousness, it's really got me thinking about how much our understanding of reality can actually change when we start to see things, from this expanded perspective.
It's a true paradigm shift, isn't it? And one of the most profound, I think, is how we perceive time.
Right. We tend to think of it as this linear progression, past, present, future, all laid out in a straight line. But Bashar suggests that our higher mind actually experiences time in a very different way.
Exactly. From the perspective of the higher mind, time is multidimensional. It's not about, being stuck on this single predetermined path, but having access to a multitude of different probabilities, like versions of reality branching out in every direction.
So our higher mind is experiencing all those potential timelines simultaneously. That's wild.
It's more about having the capacity to perceive, those possibilities, to tap into the wisdom and guidance that each potential path holds. Imagine being able to tune into a timeline where you made a different choice and actually see how that decision played out.
Whoa, that's like getting into some serious sci-fi territory. But it's also incredibly liberating to think that we might have more agency than we realize.
Absolutely. Our choices in the physical realm influence which probabilities we experience, but the higher mind has a broader perspective, a vision that extends beyond the limitations of linear time.
So we're not just like blindly stumbling through life. Our higher mind is constantly navigating those probabilities and guiding us towards the experiences that are most aligned with our soul's growth.
Precisely. And that brings us back to the importance of, connecting with our higher mind. Remember, it's about raising our vibration, aligning with our highest joy, and becoming more receptive to that intuitive guidance.
It's like we're constantly receiving signals from our higher self, but we need to quiet the noise of the physical world to actually hear them.
Great analogy. It's like trying to have a conversation in a crowded, noisy room. You might catch snippets of what the other person is saying, but you won't truly understand, their message until you find a quieter space.
So how do we create that quiet space within ourselves? It seems like we're constantly bombarded with distractions these days.
It's about making a conscious choice to prioritize our inner world. It might involve practices like meditation, spending time in nature journaling, or anything that helps us, tune out the external noise and connect with that deeper sense of knowing.
It's about creating space for those Allah moments, those flashes of insight that seem to come out of nowhere, but are actually the voice of our higher mind breaking through.
Exactly. And as we make that a regular practice, as we raise our vibration and become more attuned to our inner guidance, we'll start to notice those synchronicities that you mentioned earlier, those seemingly random events that actually hold profound meaning and guidance.
It's like the universe is speaking to us in a secret language. And the more we pay attention, the more fluent we become.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And as we become more fluent in that language, as we deepen our connection with our higher mind, we'll find that we're able to navigate the complexities of life with more grace and ease.
We'll start to see challenges as opportunities for growth coincidences, as confirmations and setbacks, as redirection towards a path that's even more aligned with our soul's purpose.
It's a truly empowering journey, isn't it? And it all begins with that willingness to look beyond the limitations of our physical senses and tap into that infinite potential that resides within each of us.
This has been such an incredible deep dive. I feel like we've only just, scratched the surface of this vast and fascinating topic, and I want to thank you so much for sharing your insights with us today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
It's been my pleasure as well, And remember, everyone, that there's always more to explore, more to discover about the interconnected nature of consciousness and reality.
If you've enjoyed this exploration of the 9 levels of consciousness as much as we have, be sure to subscribe, and share it with anyone who might resonate with these ideas. And remember, you have the power to consciously create a reality that reflects your highest potential. Start by tuning into your joy, listening to your intuition, and watch as the universe conspires to support you on your journey. Until next time, keep exploring.